The rain falls softly tonight, a steady rhythm against the window. The sky is quiet and low, and the world outside feels like it has paused. Welcome back, Hauntlings. This is the Haunted Reports. Halloween is near, and on nights like these, the old stories wake. They whisper in the corners behind wet glass, in the sound of branches brushing the roof. Tonight, I will tell you 5 ghost stories meant to keep you company while the storm moves outside. Breathe slowly, settle in, and listen. Story 1. The Pumpkin Road. The road that runs through Elder Hollow is not used much anymore. Most travelers prefer the main highway now. But on Halloween night, the rain slicks the old road until it shines like black glass. That is when the pumpkin lanterns appear. Long ago, children carved faces into pumpkins and set them along the dirt track to guide neighbors home after harvest parties. One year, a storm came through. The lanterns went out, and a carriage overturned in the dark. The driver, a young woman named Claire, vanished into the storm and was never seen again. For years after, no one dared walk the road on Halloween night. But the story says if the rain is heavy enough and the wind low, the pumpkin lanterns light themselves again. Thomas Reese had never believed the story. He returned home late one Halloween evening after a night shift at the mill. The new highway was blocked by a fallen tree. He sighed and turned down the old road. It was quiet, too quiet. The wipers brushed rain from the windshield in a steady rhythm. That was when he saw the first lantern, a soft orange light glowing at the curve of the road. Then another, and another. They were lined perfectly along the edge of the asphalt. Each one flickered with a real flame, even in the rain. Thomas slowed down. His headlights caught a figure standing at the far end of the curve. A woman in an old dress, soaked to the bone, her hair clinging to her face. She held a lantern in her hand that burned without smoke. She turned toward him, and for a moment he thought he saw water running down her cheeks like tears. Thomas braked. The figure vanished. The lanterns went out all at once. The only sound left was the rain. He pressed the gas and did not stop until he reached town. For the rest of his life, Thomas never used Pumpkin Road again. And every Halloween after, the lanterns returned, glowing softly through the rain, waiting for someone else to follow them home. Story 2. The Attic Above the Rain. The house on Willow Street had been abandoned for years. Rain always seemed to fall a little heavier above it. The windows were clouded and cracked, and vines climbed the wood like grasping hands. Mara had passed it every day on her walk home. She liked the sound of rain on its roof. She did not know why it always sounded different. Deeper, sadder. One October night, just before Halloween, she saw something strange. A light flickered in the attic window, soft and golden. Then it went out. The next night, she saw it again. Her friends told her the story. A family had lived there long ago. The youngest daughter liked to watch storms from the attic window. On one Halloween night, the lightning struck the house. No one made it out. Since then, they said, the girl returned when the rain was strongest. Mara tried to ignore it, but the flickering light called to her curiosity. On Halloween night itself, she climbed the steps to the porch. Her shoes left wet prints. The door creaked softly as she pushed it open. Inside, the air smelled like wet wood. The house did not feel empty. She climbed the stairs, each step groaning softly beneath her weight. At the top, she found the attic door. It was slightly open, light seeping through She pushed it. A small lantern sat on the floor, glowing without a wick, and beside it a little girl in a soaked white nightgown sat cross-legged, watching the rain through the broken window. The girl turned slowly. Her face was pale and soft, her eyes hollow like water-filled wells. "Do you like the rain too?" she asked. Mara did not answer. She stepped back, her heart heavy in her chest. The girl smiled faintly, then faded like mist. The lantern went dark. Mara left without looking back. But now, every Halloween when it rains, she sees that same flickering light in the attic window, watching the storm as if waiting for company. Hauntlings, if you are still listening as the rain falls, then you already know how the night speaks. If these whispers have reached you, remember to subscribe to the Haunted Reports. It is how you keep the stories close. Now breathe in slowly. The storm still has more to tell. Story 3. The Candle in the Pond. The pond behind the old farm was shallow and still. On rainy nights, its surface turned to glass, reflecting every streak of lightning in the sky. Years ago, the locals told a story about a boy named Daniel who drowned in that pond during a Halloween dare. They said he had been holding a candle when he fell in. The candle was found floating on the water the next morning, still burning. No one had gone near the pond since. On a Halloween night many years later, Lila and her friends decided to see if the story was true. Rain poured over their jackets as they crossed the overgrown field. The pond was just as the stories described. Silent. Waiting. Lila shone her flashlight across the water. At first, there was nothing but rain. Then, out of the dark, a small flame appeared at the center of the pond. It floated perfectly still, untouched by wind or water. The others backed away, whispering nervously. Lila stepped closer. Her light flickered, then went out. The flame grew brighter, and then a shape rose just beneath it. Pale hands reached toward the surface, and a boy's face emerged from the dark water. His hair clung to his forehead. His mouth moved, but no sound came. His eyes fixed on hers. She stumbled backward and fell. The flame snuffed out. When she scrambled to her feet, the pond was empty again. The next morning, no one believed what she saw, but every Halloween since, she swears the same candle floats on the water, waiting for someone else to look too closely. Story 4. The Last House on Carter Lane. Carter Lane is a short stretch of road that disappears into the trees. There is only one house at the very end. Its shutters are always closed, its roof sagging under years of storms. A story has always clung to that house, that if you stand at its gate on Halloween night during a storm, you can see someone waiting at the window. Nate did not believe in ghost stories. He and his friends dared each other to go up the lane one Halloween night. The rain came down hard, making the trees look like black veins against the sky. The gate was half open when they reached it. No light came from the house. No sound except the steady fall of rain. Nate stepped closer, and then he saw it. A face at the upstairs window. White. Still. Watching. The others turned to run. Nate stayed for 1 second too long. The face tilted its head, and then the window creaked open. A cold rush of air blew down the lane, carrying the scent of wet wood and something older. He ran then. They all did, later, when he passed the lane again in daylight. The upstairs window was shut tight, but something pale pressed faintly against the glass, like a hand that had been waiting. Story 5. The Halloween Train. The tracks behind North Hollow Station have not been used for years. Rust clings to the rails like dried blood. The platform is cracked and empty, but on Halloween night, just after midnight, people say a train passes through. There is no sound of an engine, no smoke, only the sound of rain falling heavier than before. A man named Henry once worked at the station. He was the last to leave before it shut down. One Halloween, long after the station had been abandoned, Henry came back to see if the story was real. He stood on the wet platform, rain soaking through his coat. Midnight came. At first, there was nothing. Then the rails began to hum softly under his boots. The fog rolled in fast, covering the tracks. Headlights cut through the mist. An old steam train glided out of nowhere, wheels moving but making no sound. Through the windows, Henry saw faces, dozens of them, pale and still staring out as the train passed. One of them lifted a hand slowly, not waving, reaching. The train did not stop. It disappeared into the fog as if it had never been there at all. But Henry saw something else. His reflection in the wet platform was gone, and in its place was a faint line of tracks leading into the dark. Hauntlings, the rain is quiet again. The stories have drifted back into the dark, where they belong. But on Halloween nights like this, they are never truly gone. If you want to walk through these storms again, subscribe to the Haunted Reports. Let these whispers return when the night grows still. Sleep well. Listen closely. The rain remembers everything.